Hello everyone, Pally Time here. Welcome back to Free Time. It's currently 5 in the morning. Don't ask. Okay, I guess you can ask. Basically, I ruined my sleep schedule going over to California. And now that I'm back in Florida, yeah, it's going to take some adjusting. You may be noticing up at the top left that we are Paragon level 191. I will say that I did take that hiatus weekend a couple weekends ago, and the only thing I did that whole weekend was play Diablo, relax, and watch Daredevil on Netflix. And it was a very good weekend, but obviously I progressed a lot in that weekend. So I want to go over the gear real quick. This is not what I'm actually wearing right now to progress content, and I haven't actually really tried to progress content because I wanted to share that experience with you guys. That was the whole point of this series. So right now we do have the 6-piece Telrash's set. This is the set we were going for in the last video. Attacks for each element spawn a meteor. So lightning, we have blizzard here as well. My speakers are loud. We have arcane over here, and I'm not actually using fire right now, but this familiar does do a fire attack, and here, let me show you. It does do a fire attack, and if that little projectile from the familiar does hit a target, it will spawn a meteor with it. So we do have all 4 elements. My bracers are the Ranslor's Folly. I actually spent a ton of blood shards trying to get these bracers that reduced damage taken by like up to 40%, but it turns out that those bracers are only for monks. And I wasted a ton of blood shards on that. I mean, a ton. Other than that, we do have the furnace that we had before. We do have the Convention of Elements. This is the ring we had before, but this one has a higher scaling rate. And then a Ring of Royal Grandeur is going to allow us to use the 6-piece set of the Telrash's without having 6 pieces. We are using the boots. We had these before as well. Increases our meteor damage pretty significantly. And then I'm also using the 2-piece Firebirds, which is going to allow us to be basically resurrected when we die and going to revive us. As far as skills go, pretty straightforward, pretty easy. This particular build is simply made for farming content quickly. We're actually going to be throwing in glass cannon in here as well. Oh, it's a little early in the morning, ladies and gentlemen. So we have Electrocute. This is our frontal cone AoE we've been using this whole time. Blizzard, this is going to lock targets down in one place. Then we have Energy Twister, which is actually going to gather targets in one place. We're using the rune called Wicked Wind. This allows our Energy Twister to stay in one spot. And then because of our bracers, Energy Twister is going to pull enemies in within 30 yards. So everyone's going to be clumped up here. Then we hit them with the Blizzard. Then we hit them with the Electrocute. The fire damage happens in that time as well. And then all of the meteors drop in this one location. It is insanely, insanely powerful. Teleport with Wormhole is only there so we can get around a little bit faster. We have the familiar with the Spark Flint, which is giving us some extra damage and allowing that fire proc to spawn the meteor. And then last but not least, we have Force, Magic Weapon, Force Weapon, excuse me, which is going to just give us a flat damage increase, making our character sit at 1.3 million damage right now, which is not bad at all. And remember, we're getting a 183% bonus to elements that are cycling with this ring. As of right now, I do change this up a little bit for progression. This is only intended for farming, only for farming. So if we jump into a rift really quick, I could show that to you. It's pretty damn effective. Hopefully we get an outside map because this build really does excel at killing large amounts of enemies in one place. So we can group them up with the tornado and then they just instantaneously die. We have a damage reflect here. He doesn't matter at all. He's going to be completely incinerated. We are very vulnerable to damage. And why are we vulnerable to damage? Because we've put everything we have into offense so we can clear this content quickly. We want to be using Wormhole to get around. Wormhole is going to allow us to teleport twice, as long as we teleport fast enough. And you can see these enemies are just walking into me and they don't stand a chance whatsoever. And this is what I use to farm T6. And this is what I use to get a lot of gear really quickly. I have progressed on Greater Rifts up to level 29. I do not believe I have broken the precipice of 30. Let's go ahead and hop out of this room. We'll let these guys clump up just a little bit. Gather them up with the tornado and then drop everything on top of them. You can see, well, maybe you couldn't. It happened pretty fast, but we had a 1.8 billion crit thrown in there somewhere. Essentially, we're still rotating the elements just like we were before. We are not getting the damage bonus from the fire element because we're not casting a fire spell, so our damage could be a little bit higher as far as meteors go, but the familiar is giving us a flat damage boost, and for content like this, for easily progressed content like this, 3.2 billion crit there. This is just fine. Obviously this is clearly an adequate setup. Let's get away from that arcane stuff, try to regroup these guys back up, and hopefully get a decent meteor on top of them. Now, those meteors do have an 8-second internal cooldown, so we do have to constantly be rotating our abilities, but there you go. That is going to kill them off just fine. My runes for this right now are the Bane of the Trapped, which is going to be increasing our damage when we're close to a target by, I think, something like 22%. Yep, 22.5%. We also have a defensive Greater Gem as well. I think I may have called these runes. I'm really tired. We do have a Greater Gem as well, which is going to be increasing our health regen and then giving us a shield based on our total health regen. So it's good to throw something defensive in here. Otherwise, I would just be dying like crazy. And speaking of our defenses, one of our passives I didn't go over is going to allow us to be resurrected every minute. That is the unstable anomaly. So whenever we die, we're basically just going to pop back to life. We're going to push these guys away and act like nothing happened. And the Firebird set is basically a longer cooldown of basically the same effect, but it does a little bit of damage. So we can die 2 times before we actually die, which is important for this particular setup just because we are so damn squishy. And as you can see, this is pretty effective. I mean, if we were on an outdoor map, I could be clumping these guys up a little bit more. But when we are fighting things, they just don't stand a chance. Girlfriend Time was playing a Barbarian, and I believe she was using the Cold Whirlwind rune, which was clumping these guys up even more than I could by myself. So when we group up together, we can absolutely annihilate content. And I just heard a goblin. I definitely just heard a goblin. Where is it? It was to the right. I swear I'm not crazy. Okay, it might be a little late though. I may not be crazy, but it might be a little late. And it's possible that they were up north just a little bit there. And I haven't heard him again since. Now, I'm convinced there's a goblin here somewhere. We're gonna find him. Let's clump these guys up. One thing I haven't been doing very well in my gameplay is just like running through guys and let them group up on their own and then taking advantage of that. It may have been one of those little gremlin guys. Maybe it wasn't a goblin, because I just heard it again. We did pass a yellow pack back there. Go ahead and blink out of that. So let me show you the death mechanic. So I can go ahead and just die here. That was no, that was not our first death. Okay, yes it was. The debuff's on the right. So that's basically how it works. You can die 2 times, and then you have to stay alive for a minute. Alright, as we're killing off these last guys, we are going to absolutely annihilate the Rift Guardian. We did die again there. Oh, look, a real death. Look at that. That's what we could just res. That was my first death in here, so it's really no big deal. And this isn't like a Greater Rift or anything, so it's like seriously not a big deal at all. And you can see we just casted our spells 1 time, and the Rift Guardian is basically already dead. We have exactly the same playstyle as we did before. The reason I removed the Hydra is just so we could be continuously moving, and I wouldn't have to worry about keeping enemies around the Hydra. And we are getting those fire meteors from the familiar, as I've said a few times. So essentially, our playstyle is exactly the same. This version of our build was just completely optimized for speed clearing content, trying to get through those rifts as fast as possible. And for the most part, it was in a cooperative setting, so I did have a little bit of help doing these. But there you go, that's the build. I want to show you guys how the character has progressed from this point, because I was at this point for a really long time and then kind of had a breakthrough. I know I didn't show you the gathering of the gear process and the slow work up to this, but quite honestly, I got all of these pieces really fast. I probably got all of these pieces by Paragon 100, and then I was trying to take it to the next level for the next 92 Paragon levels. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. This series is not over. I know this episode was a little weird, but we will be back to doing periodic updates for this as I am progressing into harder content. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.